Getting started playing World of Warcraft as a new or even returning player can be pretty overwhelming nowadays. And I would say probably one of the most confusing and intimidating pieces of getting started in World of Warcraft is setting up your add-ons. For better or for worse, add-ons are a huge part of this game, and they're going to make your life a lot easier, especially in Classic WoW. Now, I like to be as minimalist as possible with my add-on usage because they just take up UI space, use up computer resources. So if I had to use only 10 add-ons, these are the ones I would choose. Now, if by some chance you're actually looking for a guide for retail add-ons, I made a video and I'll put the link up here, and I'll also leave a link down in the description to all of the add-ons I mentioned today. Now, these are in no particular order, but of course the first one I have to mention is Questy. Believe it or not only the objectives of quests are not marked on the map, you actually can't even see the actual quest givers and turn-ins themselves on the mini map, and finding and turning in the quest should be the easy part, and that's hard enough without this add-on. So finding the actual objectives for these quests without this add-on is just tedious. I know some people actually just want to get a quest, read it, try and figure it out, but 95% of players want to get a quest, know where to go do it, and bring it right back. And you're really not going to be able to do that efficiently without this add-on, so this should absolutely be, if you were going to use just one add-on the entire time in Classic WoW, this is the one I would say. And guys, let us know below if there's an add-on that you think would be really helpful to new players and it doesn't make it on my list. Throw it down in the comments for people to find. And not only does Questy show you where to pick up, turn in, and the actual objectives of quests on the map, it'll allow you to put a bunch of different other indicators for things that might be important to you, like let's say profession and class trainers. Those are super relevant in Classic, obviously, and you need to know where they are, but they can be really hard to find. Using Questy, you can make it so that their little icon is always on the map at any given time. So if there's one in the local vicinity, you'll see it on the mini map, or if you're just looking for one on the world map, you can find it. Phenomenal add-on. Can't overstate it. Go download it. Now, number 2 is probably not one a lot of people are going to expect, and it might actually be a bit of a controversial one, but it is one of my favorite add-ons, and that is WoW Pro Guides. Now, what I really love about this is its usefulness with just giving me some direction when it comes to my leveling experience. Because in Classic WoW, it's really a sandbox experience. Like, you're just thrown into it and you just kind of got to figure it out. I personally like to have a little bit of directive when it comes to my questing experience. Now, I don't necessarily want it to be like a linear experience, almost like it is in retail. However, I want a little framework. And what this add-on does is it gives me that little bit of a framework to work off of, but it isn't restrictive. And I think a big barrier to entry for a lot of new players when it comes to WoW Classic is just not knowing what the hell to do. In modern day, gamers are very used to being kind of handheld with how to have an experience, and you'll get none of that in WoW Classic. So I think a lot of new players, even myself, will just want a little guidance on how to go forward with their leveling experience, because you'll quickly learn if you just move from one zone to the next by location, you're quickly going to be out leveled by the mobs versus what you can get from the actual quest. So this just gives you a little bit of directive of where to go, what to do, just so you stay caught up, and it gives you a nice path through your leveling experience. This, I would say, works very well in conjunction with Questy, and I think you're definitely going to want both. I know there are some add-ons that you need to pay for to get this kind of experience, but this is a free version of it and it works extremely well. And from what I've seen from other people using the paid services, this one pretty much seems like the exact same thing. You just don't pay. So yeah, WoW Pro Guides, awesome leveling add-on. Another one that I think doesn't get enough coverage that I'm definitely going to recommend is LFG Bulletin Board. WoW Classic is so based around forming up groups and just doing local things, and it can be a little hard to do that without this add-on. And that really falls down to 2 reasons. Your server might just be too populated and it's hard to even keep up with the chat channels, or you could have the opposite problem where there's not enough, or people just aren't in your zone looking for that group. You might be in Orgrimmar, but you're looking for a group for Scarlet Monastery and looking for a group or trade. Well, there's actually 4 people at Scarlet Monastery looking for one more person, which could be you, but they're using a different chat channel. What this add-on actually does is it will compile all the data it's getting from the chat channels and put it into one nice bulletin board. So as people list groups that they're looking for or people they're looking for, they'll actually pull keywords and phrases out of the chat to put that into the bulletin and separate them. It's a really nice add-on that makes it feel like you don't need a group finder tool or anything like that to be efficient. And this isn't only for instance content, it also has a miscellaneous section. So if you're looking for a group for Hogger, you'll probably make it on the bulletin board as well. So LFG Bulletin Board, super helpful. Now up next, another absolute necessity, at least for me, and an absolute classic, that is Bagon. Bagon is used by pretty much every player for the most part. It's a replacement for the bag interface. It can organize all of your bags into a single window. It'll highlight the important items. You can actually search for it. There's a little search bar at the top, which allows you to search for specific items if you just have a lot of stuff. It pretty much is just a really good way to improve your bag interface, and especially with the fact that it just combines them all to one, definitely one of those things you don't appreciate it until it's gone. It will just make your life so much more efficient, especially with the aspect of like highlighting the quest items in your bag versus just the regular items. That can't be overstated how important that is for new players, because you can actually destroy quest items in Classic. The game does not babysit you, so if you so choose, you can delete a quest item which maybe took you a long time to get, and you'll still be able to do that with Bagon downloaded. However, the quest item will be promptly marked, because you can be forgiven deleting an item without Bagon, but if you do it with it, that's just kind of on you at that point. No reason not to have it. Makes your life a lot better. go get it. Now at number 5, I have to go ahead and recommend Bartender. Bartender is like a full action bar replacement modification system. It allows you to basically make your UI look however you want using your action bars. And a lot of people like to keep the OG classic WoW look for their action bars just for the sake of it. And you can do that while using this add-on, but you can also manipulate the things around it to also allow you to customize it. So you can still keep that very classic action bar look while still being able to put functional and very useful buttons all around it. Or you might be all about function over form, so you just want to manipulate your action bars however you can to make it as most efficient for you. And in that case, you could change it to something like this, where it just feels more compact, but also everything is still very visible. I kind of go back and forth between what I like, and you can do that. You can set presets and switch back and forth quickly. Maybe for instance, you just want to have one for raiding and then one for just out in the open world where you like that classic look. You can switch back and forth very quickly. There's an unfortunate lack of UI manipulation availability when it comes to classic WoW, so add-ons like this really make things more customizable. Let's say you have a trinket you're always forgetting to press. You can put one giant button in the middle of your screen that is just for that trinket. I can guarantee you from there, you're not going to forget to press it anymore. But really, you can do whatever you want with Bartender, and you should definitely have it. At number 6, we have such a small and minor add-on that makes a massive impact on how you're going to experience World of Warcraft, and that is scrap. And I know if you know what scrap is, you maybe think I'm being dramatic, but do you know how annoying it is having your bags full and then going out to do quests and realizing, oh, I didn't sell my stuff? Scrap, for the most part, takes care of that for you. You're going to pick up a lot of junk items in World of Warcraft Classic, and what this add-on does is it automatically sells those gray quality items, which just saves you the effort of doing so and also saves you from forgetting to do so. Because let me tell you, inventory and bag space in World of Warcraft Classic is one of the most valuable things that you just don't appreciate until you don't have the bag space. And it might be a 5-minute run till you get to the next vendor to sell your stuff to anyways, and by the time you get there, you just want to turn back around and get out there, so you forget to sell everything. This is such a frustrating thing to happen, and I promise it happens all the time, so just get scrap and save yourself the headache. Now at number 7, I feel like I have to recommend Deadly Boss Mods. This is another one of those add-ons where if you've been playing World of Warcraft, you just have it. This add-on is just so essential when it comes to more difficult endgame raiding and instance content, and you're already gonna be facing an uphill battle just learning the game of World of Warcraft. There's so much to take in that if you try joining groups of experienced veteran players, people typically just expect you to know what you're gonna do, and you're not going to. So with something like Deadly Boss Mods, this can at least give you a little bit of an edge with learning the fights, or at least just getting through them. There's generally nothing too demanding when it comes to WoW Classic content. However, it's still nice to have something there watching your back. Up next, we have Damage Details Meter. And while I don't think this is as important as something like retail, I still think it's good to have. Now, I'm torn when I recommend damage meters, especially to new players, because I just think they end up being a bit of a toxic point of the game. People, especially in Classic, get way too focused on DPS and hard numbers when the content doesn't need to be min-maxed in the first place. The only reason it ever would need to be would be for speedruns, so in the end, damage doesn't really matter so long as the content is being completed. However, people still really do care about it. But where I see its biggest use is in personal improvement. I think you can use damage meters to figure out what works, what doesn't work, and really fine-tune your gameplay. And if you're looking to do big numbers and pump out as much damage as possible, this can be a tool to help you do that. So while I think damage meter add-ons have done more damage than good at the end of the day, I still think they can be super beneficial to your overall experience and just really getting yourself better at the game. And just a tip, if someone's giving you a hard time about bad damage or just not knowing what you're doing, just let them know you're a new player. From there, you have about a 50-50 shot of whether or not they're still going to be an ass to you. And if they are, even after you tell them you're a new player, just screw that guy. Don't worry about it. Don't take it personal. Some people are losers. I got your back. I'm going to actually make a double recommendation for the next one, and I'm going to say Omni CC and Classic Aura Durations. And I know that's cheating, but I do think they serve pretty much the same purpose, just in a different way. Omni CC basically takes your timed or cooldown things on your bars and just gives you an actual number you can look at. So instead of just seeing a dial and you not really understanding when it's going to be back up, it'll say, okay, you actually have 13 seconds remaining, which sounds minor, and it is. However, it's still extremely nice to have, especially if you're doing grouped instance content. It's really nice to know when things are actually going to be back up. And when it comes to Classic Aura Durations, this is basically the other end of that, where if, let's say, you put a debuff on an enemy, it'll actually show how much longer it has. Versus if you don't have this, it's going to show the debuff on them, but then it's just going to fall off. It's not going to like time out. So let's say you're playing an Affliction Warlock and you want to keep a bunch of dots on something. You have no idea when they're going to fall off until they do. But Classic Aura Durations, you're going to see, okay, I have just a second left before I need to refresh this dot on it. Let me reapply. So I think these two really work in conjunction nicely with each other. Omni CC showing you kind of just cooldowns on your actual bars, and Classic Aura Durations showing you the buff and debuff time left on targets. Very small, but very helpful. I'm going to cheat on my list of 10 again one more time, and I'm going to put up some honorable mentions that I think you don't absolutely need, but are going to be helpful in your journey across Classic WoW. Classic is just a game where add-ons can do more and more for you because they're not taken care of automatically like in retail, so there are a lot more I can recommend. But lastly, on to number 10, I have to go with Auctionator. The auction house and the closed circuit of economy in World of Warcraft is, I think, a really strong point of the game. However, actually operating the auction house and the UI for it is just not very efficient. It's not horrible, but this add-on makes it so much better. And as a new player, you should probably use the auction house as much as you can to sell things, because players are much more likely to pay more than the vendors. People are lazy and they have gold and they want to spend it. Take those level 5 green items, the cooking materials, the mining materials, send it to the auction house. You'll make a lot of money, and use Auctionator to do it. You can go into the Auctionator tabs and it'll automatically just list everything you can potentially sell by category. And then not only that, it'll give you the best price to sell at, basically just undercutting by like 1 copper. Obviously, this is just a suggestion. You can list it for whatever you want, but it makes the smart suggestion so you make as much money as possible. It's also helpful when you're looking to buy an item. You can go into the search or buyer section of it, type in what you're looking for, and it'll give you a better list, because normally it's kind of hard to sort through just to get the best price. But with this add-on, it's just going to put the lowest price at the top so you can have the best buyer experience. So like I said, if you are new, do not be intimidated by the auction house. Use it as much as you can. You'll make so much more money. Just make sure you're using it to sell and not buy, because you need that money for your mount at 40. So there we are, my 10-ish add-ons I would recommend if I could only have 10. And of course, guys, this is just my framework and suggestions. You absolutely don't have to download any of these, and you can download a bunch of other ones. Like I mentioned, WoW Classic is a super sandboxy experience and can be played however you want to. Starting up WoW can be very intimidating because it's just overwhelming, and I know add-ons are a part of that, so hopefully this helped. And if you have any specific questions about the add-ons I mentioned, or just anything with getting started in WoW, make sure to leave it down in the comments. I'm happy to answer. But either way, guys, I appreciate you tuning in and staying all the way till the end. Make sure to like it if you like it, subscribe for some more. You guys can catch me streaming World of Warcraft over on Twitch. I'll leave that link down in the description. But until next time, peace.